Stories are the most powerful thing on earth. They are literally life and death. Wars are waged based on the story of who is the hero and who is the villain. You are the result of a story your parents told each other, the one-night stand, the soulmate, and friends who became so much more. Life and death. So wouldn't you like to understand them better, these stories? How Story Works, an elegant guide to the craft of storytelling by Lani Diane Rich, demystifies stories and helps you understand why you love what you love, why you hate what you hate, and why prologues are almost always a bad idea. How Story Works by Lani Diane Rich. Available on Amazon in ebook, audiobook, and paperback form. Get your copy today.
Welcome to Still Pretty, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast from Chipperish Media. I'm story expert and best of Buffy's bestest buds, Lani Diane Rich.
And I'm film scholar and emotional marathon man, Noelle LaCroix, and we're here today to talk about Revelations, the 7th episode of Season 3.
Revelations aired on November 17th, 1998, and was written by Doug Petrie with Jane Espenson as executive story editor and directed by James A. Contner. Petrie and Espenson are two of my all-time favorite writers, so I gotta say, when I see their names on the masthead, I squee a little bit.
And it's that kind of squee over writers and pairings of writers and directors that just brings us so much joy here at Still Pretty. And that is why we talk about all of Buffy, the entire run. We may bring up anything from any point in any season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So if you're spoiler sensitive, binge the whole show, come on back. We'll be here for you when you're done. Excuse me, Mary Poppins, but it's time to go on patrol. In Revelations, the Scoobies gather at the Bronze for a fun night of dancing and super obvious guilt-inspired awkwardness from Willow and Xander. They quickly change the subject from their weirdness to Buffy's absentness, wondering if she's got a new beau. Buffy says she's going out with someone, and it's Faith. They go to the graveyard, engage in some slayage, and as they ask Giles for feedback on their performance, they get that feedback from an unexpected source.
You telegraph punches, leave blind sides open, and for a school night slaying, take entirely too much time. Which one of you is Faith?
Depends. Who the hell are you?
Gwendolyn Post. Mrs. Your new watcher.
Faith doesn't want a new watcher, but Gwendolyn Post doesn't care. They need to find the demon Lagos and the Glove of Minnigan, which has super destructive powers. Gwendolyn Post also has super destructive powers, and that she's really rude to Giles and she sucks. Out at the mansion, Buffy and Angel are doing sexy Tai Chi together, which results in sexy almost kissing, and then sexy running out in a tizzy, but not before Buffy tells him about the glove and Lagos.
Lagos?
Some demon looking for some all-powerful thingamabob, and I gotta stop him before he unleashes unholy havoc, and it's another Tuesday night in Sunnydale.
At the library, Giles, Xander, and Willow are researching Lagos. Xander and Willow go into the stacks and start kissing, and Giles interrupts them, telling them they're done researching for the night. He's found out where the glove is. Xander goes to stake out the place out of guilt and sees Angel coming out of the tomb. He follows Angel back to the mansion where he sees Buffy and Angel making out. And after all this, we don't get to see the moment they first kiss? Bad play, TV show. Anyway, Buffy freaks out and breaks it off, so Angel returns their focus to the business of the day.
Glove of Minnigan.
The world's ugliest fashion accessory.
No doubt. Once you put it on, the glove can never be removed.
So, no touching. Kinda like us.
Xander tells Giles, and they call a meeting in the library where they all ambush Buffy about her secret liaisons with Angel. Everyone expresses their justifiable concern, and Buffy tries to explain, but Xander goes off like an asshole and blows the whole thing up. They all leave Buffy alone with Giles, and when Buffy tries to talk to him, he is understandably hurt.
You should have told me he was alive. You didn't. You have no respect for me or the job I perform.
Gwendolyn Post visits Faith and does the classic abusive move of poisoning her mind against Buffy and her friends. Buffy talks to Willow, who understands why Buffy did what she did and maybe over-identifies a little with need to keep secrets, but whatever. Buffy has a plan to stake out the crypt where Angel found the glove until Lagos shows up. Good plan. But Faith finds Xander at the Bronze, and he tells her Angel is still alive and has the glove.
She says he's clean.
Yeah, well, I say we can't afford to find out. I say I deal with this problem right now. I say I slay.
Giles calls Gwendolyn Post in to talk about the glove. He tells her where it is, then says he has a way to destroy it, so she knocks him out with a statue, and it really is time we got Giles like a football helmet, perhaps some non-tweedy padding. At the crypt, Willow is about to confess all to Buffy when Lagos the demon shows up and Buffy fights him. After the fight, Willow loses her nerve to share, and they decide to go tell Giles that Lagos is dead. At the library, Faith and Xander show up to get some weapons when they find Giles knocked out on the floor. Xander calls for help, but Faith isn't interested in waiting around.
Faith, if we leave, Giles could die.
Yeah, he's gonna have a whole lot of company unless I do something permanent.
Buffy and Willow show up at the library as Giles is being carted out by EMTs, and Xander tells Buffy that Faith went to kill Angel and retrieve the glove. Buffy heads out to deal with that, leaving Xander and Willow to research how to destroy the glove. At the mansion, Angel has already made up the living flame to destroy the glove when Gwendolyn Post shows up looking for the glove. He tells her where it is, and she knocks him out with a shovel. He gets up as she's trying to get the glove. They fight, and Faith finds him fighting with her watcher.
Mrs. Post! I can't believe how much I'm gonna kill you.
You're not getting that glove.
You wanna bet?
Faith and Angel start fighting, then Buffy comes in and stops Faith from staking Angel, and then they fight, and basically this is violent French farce. At this point, I'm waiting for Fraser Crane to pop in through the door with a silk robe and a tricorn hat. Anyway, Buffy and Faith fight. Xander and Willow show up and help Gwendolyn Post, who grabs the glove, knocks out Willow, and puts it on, gaining ultimate cosmic power.
What's going on? Faith, a word of advice. You're an idiot.
The farce is over, and everyone knows that Gwendolyn Post is bad as she uses her new power to shoot lightning from her hand and tries to kill them all. Buffy throws a shard of broken glass at her, cuts off her arm, and the lightning burns her up. At school, everyone gathers for a post-mortem on the events of the night. Angel saved Willow, so she sort of likes him again. They destroy the glove with the living flame. And it appears that Gwendolyn Post was a Watcher, but got kicked out for misuse of dark magic. Xander and Buffy make up, and Buffy goes to see Faith. She tries to make it right with Faith, but Faith is too hurt and pushes Buffy away, finishing the job Gwendolyn Post began of separating her from her friends.
I'm on your side.
I'm on my side, and that's enough.
All right, Noelle. So here we are, Revelations. It's never been really one of my favorite episodes. I think it's a good episode, but it's never really lit me up. Although there are definitely certain elements in it that I really, really like. I'm curious to know what your response is to it.
Well, this is, as everyone knows by now, this is my first rewatch in a while, and I didn't remember this episode at all. Like, at all. And I was surprised that I didn't remember it because, oh my God, Gwendolyn Post is the absolute worst.
Right.
I hate her so much.
I know.
But, I like the way it kind of moves along some of the plot pieces that we have been putting in motion. But, yeah, it doesn't make my socks go up and down.
I know. It's a competent episode.
Yeah.
And I do like I respect it. And there are things in it that are really good, but I don't know, like it's one of those episodes, I think possibly because it comes between Band Candy and Lover's Walk, that anything in this space is going to make me feel a little bit like, okay, whatever. It's not delighting me. Move on. There's no Spike. There's no Giles and Joyce acting like children.
Right.
So for me, I think it just, I don't know. Like I think it's good. I think it's a good piece of television. And I think there's really competent stuff happening, but
it does what it does well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all I got.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of band candy, very quickly, I do want to kind of resolve a little something from last week. Last week, when we talked about band candy, I was talking about Giles's childhood accent, and that he must have had it beaten out of him and learned received pronunciation later on. But people who actually know what they're talking about, like who have lived in the UK, and I've never even so much as visited, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I think I did acknowledge that I was talking out of my ass last week a little bit, right? But we have had a couple of people who had kind of a different take on it, and one of them was Vamp Advocate from the Discord chat, and she sent me this wonderful explanation.
Hi, it's Vamp Advocate from the message board. It's quite interesting actually, because for a small country we actually have quite a lot. An extremely varied amount of regional accents, and pretty much every major city has one. There's even kind of a little bit of variety with Queen's English or received pronunciation, because I think it's gone much more middle class, and sort of have the traditional received pronunciation accent. And even the kind of aristocratic voice has kind of changed a bit over the years. I mean, the Queen talks in a manner that's much more clipped, and less drawly than even Prince William does. But to bring up the subject, what I was explaining about on the Discord channel was S3.07 English, and I think it's a lot of people like. I think Giles's received pronunciation accent is actually his default one, because he's actually a third generation watcher. This is catalogued in the comics, and I think it's mentioned in the program. Both his grandmother and his father were watchers, and there's actually the First Angel and Faith comic, which goes into quite a lot more detail about his background. But also I think one thing that basically hyped up the adopting a lower class London East End accent happened really with the punk era, I get the impression. And he was, which I think he would have been young when he sort of went through his dissolute phase. So he would have adopted that type of accent because it would have been sort of hip at the time. But, S3 English, you have, it's sort of named after the Thames Estuary, which is kind of goes out between Essex and Kent, sort of on the, just kind of to the east of London. And I think part of it was you got a lot of EastEnders kind of moving out into Essex, particularly into Essex, which has a reputation akin to New Jersey for kind of general shaviness, I think we call it in this country. But also you've got kind of a few sort of middle class people adopting this sort of mock lower class London accent. But what makes it really interesting is that Anthony Head himself is from an area called Camden Town, which is not the traditional working class London East End Docker area, but it kind of has a strange sort of space, because it's half quite a down at heel area, but it's also quite bohemian. It's quite famous for its markets, and I think there were certainly periods where large amounts of people from the music industry kind of flocked around this area. It's a little bit the strange sort of occupies a kind of strange space, but it is quite a sort of genuine London accent.
Thank you so much, Vamp Advocate, for giving us that little insight into teenage Giles. I think absolutely, now that you guys have, and more than one person has brought that to my attention, because of course every time I say something stupid, everybody's like, "Well, wait a minute," and I like that. But it was really it's a nice insight into that, and I was really glad to have that. So anybody who ever wants to correct us with a voice memo, just email the MP3 to us and we'll put it up. It'll be great.
Oh, hey, that'll be fun.
Yeah, no, I love it.
This week on What We Got Wrong from last time.
This week on What We Got Wrong. We can have a whole segment on that. Oh, that'll be great. All right.
Perfect.
So yeah, email that to info@chipperish.com and we'll find it. So I guess the first thing we really need to talk about in Revelations is Gwendolyn Post.
Oh my God.
Mrs. Mrs. Gwendolyn
Mrs.
Post.
Oh
yes.
my God.
I think she may be like the first iteration of Maggie Walsh in a way. Like I see some related DNA there, that there's this, this woman, she's strong, she's capable, she's moving into Giles's space. She's a bitch to Giles,
Oh my God.
So I kind of like, I got that same kind of feel from her, although, clearly she's, is she worse than Maggie? No, she just doesn't last as long as Maggie. That's all.
Yeah.
She's not really worse. Maggie's pretty bad. But like, my first note on her is, wow, she's an asshole,
Yeah.
She's just the worst.
Yeah. She just swoops in and is like the worst right out of the
Yeah.
gate. It's
Yeah. I mean, she's so rude to Giles, and she's like, well, do you have this book? Do you have this book? And then when he has the book, she's like, oh, well, of course,
Of course you do.
It's just,
Ugh.
she's so awful. And then when she's like, pictures are fun to look at, but one really should read the words as well. Like, I want Giles to kind of punch her in the face. Like, I'm not a fan of violence, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be men hitting women or women hitting men, either way, I'm not into it. Once she puts on the glove and people can start beating the hell out of her, then I'm okay, because like she's given them a reason to hit her, because she's trying to burn people up.
Dreadful in that scene. She's so dreadful, and of course she says that, and then the tea kettle whistles, which is just a great like alarm bell.
Yes.
It's a wonderful.
There's something wrong with this woman.
Wonderful, like sound cue there. I can't stand that last bit about the, the pictures are fun to look at, Mr. Giles. She makes me so angry. And taking the tea bag out of the teacup and producing her own tea from her purse is like A+ level evil Brit bullshit. Like, this is how we know for sure.
Do you not know how to behave?
I understand that tea is important, but it's just such a it's
so rude.
Dick move.
It is.
She's such a dick. I just hate her so much.
I know.
And she's not even fun to hate the way Maggie Walsh is. Like, you mentioned Maggie Walsh, and Maggie Walsh is terrible, but I kind of like her because I kind of love being mad when she's on screen and, just being pissed off about all of her, all of her nonsense. But I don't know, like, and maybe it's just that we don't get enough time with Gwendolyn Post. Maybe if she were here for several episodes and we kind of built this like evil ex-watcher thing. But I just like, she's whatever the feminine mustache twirling villain is, and I don't like it.
Exactly.
I don't like it.
The female version of that is. No, she is very clearly. Although one thing that I actually like, I don't love her, but I love how they did it. Because I think that what she does for Faith in this episode, or what she does for Faith's character arc, not for Faith, she hurts Faith. But what she does for Faith's character arc is so interesting. Like, first of all, she does the classic abusive move of isolating Faith, separating her from her friends, dropping these little hints that they're excluding Faith, all of this stuff. And then, of course, Faith just went through this huge traumatizing experience with her watcher being murdered in front of her, And so here she is coming into this situation, seeing this vampire she doesn't trust, hitting her watcher, right? I mean, she's completely back in that moment with Kakistos. And so what we've got from Faith in this episode, like, I love that whole, that horrible, abusive, manipulative, wedge that she puts in between Faith and Buffy, and Faith, we see that a little bit with Faith earlier in the episode when she's trying to talk to Buffy. She's trying to get Buffy to talk about Angel, and Buffy won't talk about Angel. And Faith is clearly hurt by that. And she's like, okay, whatever. But like, her ability to trust is already shot. And she gets into this group, this community, and she feels like part of it. And Buffy, when she's hanging out, Buffy comes to the Bronze and says, I actually do have somebody I'm going out with tonight. And the Faith comes in and says, we got to motivate, which is like, I love that, And the two of them, arms around each other, go out. They're slaying. They've got synchronized slaying. They do the high five, like all this stuff that Faith has never had, And then this Gwendolyn Post, we can mark Faith's heel turn from Gwendolyn Post. This is what starts it. This is where she doesn't trust that they want her there, that she doesn't trust that she's actually part of everything. She feels excluded. She feels isolated. And then she goes to further isolate herself. But her vulnerability, Faith's vulnerability in all of this, while she's being so tough, it is so clear how vulnerable she is and how deeply she feels everything. And it's so heartbreaking. Like at the end when Buffy's trying to talk to her and she's like, yeah, whatever. And then she says, Buffy, and Buffy turns around and she's like, nothing. And that's it. And it's, oh God.
Yeah. It's that internal struggle between, do I take the risk one more time and be vulnerable again and maybe get hurt again, but maybe have that connection? Or do I do the thing that I've always done of just relying solely on myself and choosing not to trust anyone?
And pushing people away.
It's so brutal. It's so brutal because she's so open and vulnerable in that scene where she and Buffy are walking and she's talking about guys and how you can't trust them, and she's being really like. It's funny because she's being so vulnerable, but she's also being kind of sweet and playful with Buffy, which I love. You boinked the undead. What was that like? Like she's not prying. She is trying to bond with Buffy.
It's a bid for connection. And that is so vulnerable when people make a bid for connection and then it's not met.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so hard. And it's so hard to watch. And the thing is, like, we know all the context. We know why. Buffy doesn't talk to her best friends about this. Like, she doesn't open up, but Faith doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And oh God. And it's so, and then she's like, no, I'm fine. I'm going to go slay. I'll see you later. Yeah. And she just kind of goes off and is all cool about it. But you can see that she's hurt. And then when Gwendolyn Post comes in, with the 1-2 punch and says, they're having some kind of secret meeting about whatever.
Yep.
Oh God. It's all so heartbreaking.
Poor Faith. I love her more every time I see her. Like she is such a great counterpoint to Buffy. Buffy has all of this community, and Faith, you can see how she's just reaching for it. She would love to have that. Yeah. And she's just, that fear is still there. And then, of course, Mrs. Post comes in and just separates her even further.
And ruins everything. Everything that happens to Faith is Gwendolyn Post's fucking fault. And
here we have another adult woman who is like actually a villain, like the worst. We have, I don't like it. We need some like strong female characters who are not 17.
Villains.
Yeah, who are not villains and not 17.
Aside from Joyce, and Joyce, let's face it, is not having a great run. She's not batting 1,000.
Oh, Joyce, poor Joyce.
She's not evil,
No, but Joyce. She's not even in this episode, but I just look at her and I'm like, oh, sweetie, were you written by a man?
You written by... I know. Like, I want a t-shirt that says that. Oh, sweetie, were you written by a man? Yeah. And it's so Joyce, but Joyce has had a really rough run. Although I think this season is when Joyce starts to get better and things start to improve. But it is a slow and awkward kind of tumble into better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but it is like, we don't have, we had Jenny, for a short while, who still ended up betraying everybody, like was not perfect. And the end was essentially good. But still had that act of betrayal, but like, a strong adult female who is not up to no good. I don't think we've had, granted, the only male we've had who's not up to no good. It's like adult male is Giles. Although I guess Angel counts as an adult male. Yeah. But again, he also did go bad there for a while. So I don't know. It's interesting how we have that lack of strong grown up woman, who's like not a hot mess in one way or another.
Yeah, because of course, and we saw this last week. Like that's Buffy's role. She has to be the adult. Mm-hmm. She has to be the adult, and it's tremendously unfair.
Well, her and Miss Barton Are there any nachos in here, little tree?
Miss Barton. Oh my God. I hope Miss Barton is feeling better after her high from last week. Oh my
I
God.
hope Miss Barton is out partying every night. I hope that this awoke within her the knowledge that she's not dead yet. She can go out and have a good goddamn time. But, you know, hopefully with people her own age. Because hanging out at the Bronze is not a good look on middle-aged people.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. So
Buffy and Angel.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about Buffy and Angel, because Buffy and Angel, you know, you never really felt the Buffy and Angel thing.
I
right?
never really felt the Buffy and Angel thing, and I was watching for it because I know that this is like this great, you know, TV pairing, and people are just crazy about Buffy and Angel, and there's this, you know, she comes over to Angel's series and there's drama there, and like it's I really wanted to get it, to really understand it and feel it.
Yeah.
And I was watching for it, and it seems to me like it goes very quickly from Angel is kind of creepy and stalking Buffy in the shadows to
in season 1, you mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In season 1 to their making out through her open window, and I'm like, wait a minute, like where did the relationship part happen? Because suddenly they love each other, and like, all right, you know, I'll go along with it if the show tells me that like these people are a couple and in love. All right, okay, but I didn't see any sort of a build to the relationship. So I'm just kind of like, at this point, I'm like, along for the ride. Like, okay. Yeah. Like, I get it. I see what you're showing me, show. But like with Oz and Willow, we got that lovely, like, slow build of their connection. And it was even with Oz observing Willow and her not knowing, we still, like, I still felt the kind of growing connection and affection.
Right. Well, it wasn't stalking.
Yeah.
Like, he observed her when she showed up in the spaces he was already in. And then he just and that's fine. Stalking, you know. And so, like, I can understand how that can, like, there's a lack of buildup, because even with like Giles and Jenny, there was loads of buildup there.
Yeah.
With Xander and Cordelia, I mean, they had this slap kiss thing going on, you know, but they were slapping each other for a long time before they got to the kiss.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So you had that sense from them, you know, that there was something building. And with Angel and Buffy, a lot of it, like, for me, part of it is they work together. Like, you know, that to me is the key to my heart is the work, right? You know, like, when people work well together, that builds up a great relationship. And so they've been, you know, fighting demons together and working really well together on that end. But the I'm in love with you, the kiss comes 7 episodes in, you know?
Yeah.
Through which most of it, he has been this kind of like shadowy figure stalking her in the background, which has been always really weird, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can see how Buffy and Angel can be missed. I think part of what is built in with them is just that star-crossed element, a vampire in love with a slayer. The conceptual part of it,
sure,
I think is what has that. It's that Romeo and Juliet, the Capulets, the Montagues, you know, the vampires and the slayers, you know, this line that cannot be crossed, and yet, you know, they're falling in love with each other anyway, you know. And so I think that for me was like, I was signed on, you know, because of that. I was like, yes, the star-crossed out,
yes,
the romantic
perfect.
conflict,
of course.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that can sometimes, you know, in some situations kind of stand in as a substitute for actually building the relationship. But when you want to believe in the love and the relationship, you really do need that build as well, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can see how that happened a little bit fast. But now where we are at this point, you know, in the story, that she loved him more than anything. She had to, you know, kill him and send him to a demon dimension. Everything she went through in season 2, when he turned, like, for me, the like heartbreaking part is she's in love with him. He is everything to her. And he turns and then is so cruel to her. And yet, you know, here she is watching this monster walking around in the body and the affectation of the man that she loved. Like, that is so hard and so heartbreaking. And I think that for me, like, the most effective moment with them is in I Only Have Eyes for You.
Mm-hmm.
When they do that, you know, they're both taken over by these, you know, by the ghosts and all of that, and kind of work out some of those issues for Buffy. And that, for me, like, when she has him back for that moment and then he's just gone again, it's so fucking heartbreaking. It just destroys me. So at this point, by the time we get to Becoming, she kills him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's this huge dramatic moment that I can't watch without weeping for, like, seriously days. Like, I will just break into tears for days after watching Becoming. It's okay. It's how I process my trauma. It's fine. And then for him to come back, you know, when he comes back after all that, like, people come back from the dead or the lost or whatever. To me, it always feels a little cheap. It's like, all right, you know, we just want to have David Boreanaz back. We just want Angel back. And so instead of letting it end with that moment, we're like bringing it back, you know, which is, of course, what we end up doing with Spike after the end of season 7, you know, over in the season 5 of Angel. I said we spoil everything. Season 5 of Angel, he comes back, he's, you know, and he returns from the dead. And that always felt like, as much as I love Spike, that always felt a little cheap to me.
Yeah.
But where we are now with, you know, Angel's back, he's got his soul, but after everything that they went through, after everything that happened, she can't tell her friends. She's stuck in this space where, you know, where she's not being forced to make that decision about not being with him. She just can have him for a little bit, you know, in this little space. And I understand why she would do that and why she would keep that secret, because as soon as she tells somebody, she has to end it.
Yep.
You know, and then she can't have him. She has to lose him again, like, from her perspective, you know? And so for me, like, this whole Buffy and Angel, they're doing the Tai Chi. They have the almost kiss, you know? It's so, like, angsty and full of yearning, and yet, no, we can't. And that romantic tension is there. And it's really nice. And this works for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just curious if at this point, is it working for you?
It's working for me in a different way. I think I really, really like the tension between them. I really, really like all of the emotions between them, you know, spoken and unspoken. And I mean, doing Tai Chi together is just like gorgeous.
But what do you think? That is a sexy
so
exercise.
Hot. I mean,
that is foreplay exercise. I mean, come on.
It's so pretty. They're in like full sunlight though, which I'm just like, okay, I get it. Like, it looks pretty, fine, whatever. Yeah. But you know, Angel's gonna be a little toasty by that point. I don't know.
Whole new meaning to Smoke Show. Let me tell you.
Yeah. But there you go. But Angel, I mean, I don't have, you know, capital F feelings for Buffy and Angel as a couple, but I really, really like this character, you know, building piece for Buffy of like, okay, like, he's back and I have this thing that I so desperately want, but I have to keep it a secret, but I can't, but oh, maybe I can a little bit. And then like the emotional journey that we go on with her in this episode is wonderful. And then when her friends confront her, I mean, once again, I'm on everybody's side, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable. Like, but in a good way, like in such a good way that like
you're torn.
Yes, you're like, oh my God, like, I love all of these people right now, and I like see what everyone is going through. So no, but I really feel for Buffy, especially in the like, when this secret comes out, then I have to make a decision. And I don't want to do that. Like, I have to end it, or I have to, you know, face up to, you know, all of the issues, or all of the concerns that her friends raise.
Everything that he did. Yeah. Yeah, you know. And I mean, I understand everybody except Xander, who's an asshole. We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about Xander in a minute. But like, I love, like, I really, really feel for, I think what I love in this Buffy and Angel stuff right now is the Buffy side of it, and her like wanting to do right by everyone, including herself, you know, including like having this thing that she so wants. And you know what it will mean when she has to tell everyone that he's back.
Yeah, and then to get caught in it, to have it catch up with her. And that's, I mean, I love that. I love conflicts where you look at all sides and you're like, I get it. Like, I get why Buffy did what she did. And yeah, was it wrong? Probably. Yeah. Because she has to tell them this affects them, and puts them in danger, as Giles pointed out,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, oh God, like what a terrible choice. And I mean, this is what good fiction does, right? It makes people make terrible choices. A choice between awful and awful is so hard. And yet it tells us who these characters are. And again, it's Buffy. Like, we had that moment earlier with her and Faith where, Faith had that bid for connection and Buffy couldn't. She just couldn't, know? And she does keep these things, and we'll see her do this over and over again. She doesn't tell the whole story. She doesn't explain everything. She can't talk to anybody. She's so isolated because nobody else understands what it is to be the Slayer. And even Faith, who can understand what it is to be the Slayer, also hasn't been the Slayer for very long, hasn't been the Slayer by herself for very long, and doesn't have the same kind of situations, didn't fall in love with a vampire and have to kill him, I mean, like, didn't have any of these things happen. Like, there are things that happen to Buffy that nobody can understand, and that's so isolating, and I completely understand it from Buffy's point of view. And yet, when we get that moment from Giles...
I know this is a lot to absorb, but Angel did find the glove, and that was a good...
I won't remind you that the fate of the world often lies with the Slayer. What would be the point? Nor shall I remind you that you have jeopardized the lives of all that you hold dear by harboring a no-murderer. But sadly, I must remind you that Angel tortured me for hours, for pleasure. He should have told me he was alive. You didn't. You have no respect for me or the job I perform.
How hurt he was in that moment. How that must have felt to him that Buffy would keep something like that from him, because it's not just, what she went through. Angel killed the love of his life. Yeah. Angel killed Jenny, and Angel tortured him, and Angel, all of the things that Angel did. And yet, he doesn't rank as far as like deserving to know at this point. And of course, that's not at all where Buffy was in that decision. She was just so tormented by the whole thing and did the best she could in a moment where there were no good options for her, but God, when Giles says that, it breaks my heart.
Oh my God. Giles goes on such an emotional journey in this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, to see him feel like ineffective as a watcher and as a father figure and as someone who cares about these young people. I mean, I think it's especially poignant after last week where we did see him being completely reckless and irresponsible because he was a rebellious teenage Giles. And so here he is, things are back to normal, we think. Mm-hmm. And then, Gwendolyn Post swoops in to make Giles have to look at his whole world, his whole relationship to being a watcher, being completely disrespected in that realm too, which, let's not forget, the Watchers just had that whole jaunt in the Cotswolds. Yep.
And didn't invite him.
Yeah.
The way the Watchers Council treats him with absolutely no respect, and then to have this representative of, standard classic British watcherdom, this very uptight, strict ruling kind of thing, where Giles has an emotional connection with his Slayer. He has an emotional relationship with the whole team. Like, he is not, from on high, the one who gives commands. He is the one who works with a team, and his way of doing things, is effective. I mean,
Yeah.
how many apocalypses have we stopped at this point?
Right.
He's doing pretty good. But he gets absolutely no respect, and we have the generic lack of respect from the Watchers Council, which is something I never understand, because he is the Watcher with the Slayer.
Right.
Like, I mean, granted, there's another Slayer now, but right now he's the Watcher with both Slayers.
Right.
Like, he's the one who's taking care of everything, and he gets no respect from anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really ridiculous and frustrating. And I don't want to say I love it, but I love the I love the performance choice to have Giles take out that feeling like disrespected on the kids. He takes it out on Xander and Willow, where he's snapping at them about, we have to find this and we have to do this. Like, he's suddenly like in mad dad mode, and
he's insecure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. He's insecure about it. We've got to get this stuff done. Because the Watchers Council is goddamn abusive, but they do have a message that they have sent for us to play in this episode. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
This episode of Still Pretty is brought to you by thewatcherscouncil.com, specializing in unnecessary bureaucratic tedium since the beginning of, time. The Watchers Council is here to cash a paycheck while making things harder for the one person we're ostensibly here to support, the Slayer. I mean, she's one girl in all the world, but we can't make her or her Watcher feel, important. No, that would be anarchy. The Watchers Council is all about feeling important while not actually being important, or useful, or really much of anything besides pompous and ineffectual. Go to thewatcherscouncil.com and give us money and then bugger off. We'll keep the world safe by doing nothing and take your money without shame while we do it. Or, if you want to throw your money away, you could choose to take the $3 you might spend on upholding patriarchal bullshit and give it directly to Chipperish Media so they can keep making the great podcasts you love, like Still Dead about Angel the series, hosted by Lani and Rich and Dr. Kelly Jones, Listen Up A-Holes about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, hosted by Lani and Rich and superhero scholar Joshua Unruh, Orgasm, about explosive inspiration from Dr. Kelly Jones and Noelle LaCroix, and the Star Wars podcast Metaphors Be With You, hosted by Rob Hyrett. Visit patreon.com/Chipperish to find out more. But really, you should give your money to us. We'll just find a way to take it from you eventually anyway.
Okay, so that was a message from our Watchers Council, pretty much, being the dicks that they always are. But,
the Watchers
but it
Council.
was kind of fun.
The Watchers Council. Patriarchal bullshit and all.
Patriarchal bullshit, absolutely.
But, really, okay, so they swear there was a memo that Gwendolyn Post had been kicked out.
Yeah.
What? Wait, what? Hold on. Yeah. Is this, the least effective council ever?
And also, it's a passive-aggressive thing. When Giles says, so Gwendolyn Post turns out, she was kicked out for use of dark magic, and they swear there was a memo, right?
Yeah.
Which says clearly there was no memo.
Yeah.
Right? Giles knows stuff. He pays attention. He's not just fucking around there in Sunnydale. If there was a memo, he would have known about it. He would have remembered the name. You don't forget a name like Gwendolyn Post very easily. So I don't know. I find that whole thing to be just terrible, and it's the way that they treat him is absolutely unacceptable. Totally awful. But one of the things though that I really love about this whole Giles thing, right, is after he's found out about Angel, he knows that Angel has the glove, right? And when he's talking to Gwendolyn, he says the glove is safe with Angel.
Yes.
He still trusts Buffy. He trusts Angel with a soul, right? And he's not rushing off to snatch the glove away from Angel. He tells Gwendolyn Post it's safe, and he believes that. And there's something about Giles being able to do that with everything that he's feeling, with how disrespected he's feeling on all levels, to still be to have a cool head about it enough to be okay, this is terrible. I should have known, Buffy should have told me. Gwendolyn Post was treating me terribly, but I know that this glove is safe if it's with Angel. And he admits that, and that's fine. And it just makes me love him more.
Yeah.
As if that was possible.
Aww.
I love him so much.
Yeah, he is wonderful. He's wonderful in this episode. I love seeing Giles do the emotional roller coaster of feeling, jerked around by the Watchers Council, and then having to, having this interloper and trying to do right by his job, but also wanting to do right by these young people that he cares about, and taking out his anger and frustration on Xander and Willow. I mean,
yes,
I feel terrible, but oh my God. Oh my God. But it's great. Like it feels very real. It feels very, it's the layers. It's all of those layers. Giles has many layers, and I love them all.
I know, all layers, emotional layers, layers of Tweed. He's just layered.
Well, we mentioned Xander, and we mentioned Xander and Willow, and we have to talk about it. And I'm so sorry.
Yes,
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Actually, here's the thing. I hate Xander with the whole how awful he is to Buffy. During that ambush scene.
Oh God.
Like when he says the next time you give him a happy, and I'm like, oh my God,
gross.
Fuck you, Xander.
Also, fuck you.
I absolutely hate him. Yeah, no, I'm just like, I absolutely hate him. But I also kind of love him. The performance is so good.
Nick Brendan's performance in this episode is so excellent. Oh my God. I love Xander in the cemetery. Why don't I alleviate my guilt by going out and getting myself really killed?
Really killed.
I love a moment. I love a moment of self-aware Xander, and that's what we get there. But I get being angry and hurt, that makes sense to me. But he's so out of line with the way he targets Buffy, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, oh my God, that intervention scene is so hard because as much as I don't like the way Xander's behaving, I feel for Xander. I feel for, this guy, I mean, Angel, when he was Angelus, murdered a whole lot of people. And was really he was gonna hurt Willow. He was scary as fuck. And that's not something that you just get over. It's fine for Buffy to be like, oh, he's better now. He's back and he's better now.
He's got a soul. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone in that group experienced what they experienced. Yeah. And to have to, and they don't have that deep soul level connection with Angel that Buffy does.
Right.
They don't have that. They don't have that passionate love affair making things complicated in that way. It's much to Xander. I mean, it's much simpler. He brings up Jenny Calendar's death again.
Yeah.
Which feels a little bit like he's using Jenny's death against Buffy in that moment. I don't love it, but I also, again, I understand being seriously freaked out and traumatized by everything that they went through with Angelus. So I have so many feelings. I
know, it's so complicated. Yeah. And this is the thing, I appreciate Xander's perspective on it. I appreciate him being hurt. I appreciate him being worried. All that stuff, I get. It is the way that he speaks to Buffy.
Yeah.
It is the nastiness with the way that he expresses all of that. And when Buffy says, oh, is this just jealousy? And then Cordelia's like, get over yourself. But at the same time.
I love that line from Cordelia.
I know.
I love it.
She's great. But at the same time, I think that, that's always been part of Xander's hatred of Angel. That's always been a part of it. Mm-hmm. And, meanwhile, Angel with a soul has saved Xander. He killed a lot of people without a soul, but he saved Xander and everybody a number of times when he had his soul. Mm-hmm. And the idea that everybody is responsible or nobody is responsible for when they get possessed by whatever demon of the week is, coming in and making them, I don't know, perhaps Xander, a hyena.
Yeah.
Right?
A sexual assault hyena. of all things.
Sexual assault hyena, which is a very specific brand of hyena.
Yes.
You got to breed for that.
Oh,
but
God.
but Angel is, held completely responsible for absolutely everything.
Right.
In a way that that I don't think is entirely fair. But vampires are also held. They're different in every way. Like, they're the only ones that have religion iconography has any power over them. There's a whole bunch of stuff with vampires that do kind of make them a separate thing from most demons. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I love the performance. I think that Nick Brendan is amazing in this episode. He pissed me off. Xander pissed me off the way that he spoke to Buffy in that confrontation. And I loved the scene with Faith.
Yes. I love them together.
They're so great together. But like, when she's like, well, I say I slay. And he's like, can I come?
Mm-hmm.
He wants to watch him die, knowing what this person means to Buffy and knowing everything that Buffy went through.
Yeah.
Like, not having any concern or understanding for Buffy in this moment kind of pisses me off. And while I absolutely love the whole, like, the performance of it, I think it's fantastic. Xander pissed me off in this episode. Although with him and Willow, though.
Oh my God. With
him and Willow. And I hate it. I hate being on this ship because it feels so wrong, but only because it is so wrong. But I kind of like, they're so sweet together. When they start kissing, it's so sweet and it's awful. And I have guilt for being on the ship.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. But we have to talk about that scene. So
Yes.
They go up to the stacks and they sit down, and Willow her eyes are all blurry, and Xander starts to massage her temples. And then, of course, our, like, sweet romantic music picks up. So we know where this is going to go.
So we're cued, right?
I love that so much. She starts to moan a little bit, and then she says, stop. And Xander says, stop. He, like, really, really slowly and carefully, he's like, stop means stop. Stop means no.
Mm-hmm.
And no means no. So...
Right.
Stop.
And he just pulls back and respects that.
Oh, which, obviously, right thing to do, right? If someone says stop, stop. But
as soon as somebody says stop, yes.
I love that check-in, though, because the way she says stop, it's conflicted.
It does have.
It's not a hard stop. It's
not a knock it off, asshole.
Yeah.
It's a, I'm really enjoying this, but we have to stop.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit different. And again, doesn't matter how somebody says it. Xander's response, stop means no, and no means no, and pulling back. And the thing is, he was slow to pull back.
Yeah.
I think because he was feeling obviously very conflicted in that moment too. But it's
a great check-in.
Sweet.
It's a great check-in because he gives her time to like correct him on, like, do I take this word literally? Do you mean literally stop, or do you mean stop because we really shouldn't do this, but keep going?
Right. Right. Exactly. And asking what somebody means
is very important.
And repeating their words back at them.
Mm-hmm.
Also really good.
It's so, and I think for me, that check-in makes the scene so great, so that then when he pulls back and then she grabs him and kisses him, I'm like, yeah! Get in there and get some of that, Willow. But it's a great kiss. Oh my God.
It is a great kiss.
That's a fantastic kiss. I don't ship it, but maybe a little bit. Maybe just a bit.
I enjoy it. The ship is passing by and I'm enjoying the ship as it passes me by.
I love it.
And I know it's wrong. And there's so many people who are like, oh my God, Xander and Willow, I hate it. It's terrible. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but I kind of love it. I can't help it. I do. It's just, there's something about it that's incredibly sweet. And I always love those two together, and they have amazing chemistry, and it just works for me, despite the fact that intellectually, yes, it's wrong in a million ways, not just because they're dating other people, but it's just wrong in a million ways.
Yeah, it's a problem, but I appreciate the subplot of seeing somebody who was your friend in a romantic light and having that be new and exciting. Like, I think that's a real experience that people have. And then, of course, oh God, Giles knows what's up.
Giles knows. He seemed clueless to me.
No, he seems extremely knowledgeable to me when he comes in.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's not even looking at them and he's talking to them like nothing's happening. Like, I thought that he just was so absorbed in all of the stuff that he's got going on in this episode, which is quite a lot, that he didn't even notice.
Well, it's funny. The first time through, I thought he didn't notice. The second time through, when he was the way he says, Xander, Willow, and they, like, he sort of, not that because he's got
when you stomp your feet really loudly coming into a room because you know shit's going down.
Right. Like, they were obviously very quiet back there. The way he comes in and it's almost like, I don't have time for this bullshit. He just says, you can stop. And I think he says, you can stop your studying.
Right.
In this pointed dad sort of way. And they're like, I know, but I'm not going to address it with you because we have bigger fish to fry kind of way.
Yeah.
I don't know. The second time through, I was convinced that he knew that they were making out, but wasn't going to address it with them. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what the folks in Discord think. If they think Giles...
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to see.
I was about to say, like, Giles has peripheral vision, but in Sunnydale, I'm not so sure people have peripheral vision.
Nobody has peripheral vision in Sunnydale.
Because
Sunnydale is tunnel vision central. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I also really loved Willow's processing in this episode.
Oh, God.
When she's talking to Buffy, first of all, she is so kind to Buffy and so understanding. And I mean, part of it is because secrets are fine. Secrets are good.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
She goes through that whole thing. And I mean, you know, obviously she's over-identifying with it, but still, like, she's understanding. I've got in the ambush scene where she's like, nobody's using I statements.
Oh, God. Giles, no one's using the I statements. Oh, my God. Back me up, Giles.
It's so great.
Oh,
Back
Willow.
It's so sweet. And when she's talking to Buffy and, you know, trying to, like, say, okay, so I have something I need to talk to you about. I haven't talked to you about it, but keeping secrets is bad, and yada, yada. And then Buffy, of course, has the fight with Lagos, and Willow loses her nerve and says, you know, I opened up the SAT booklet 5 minutes early, which is very sweet. But it's just, oh, God, I just love everything with Willow. And then when she's like, but, you know, maybe it's only good because it's a secret. Maybe if I said something, then it wouldn't be a secret and then it wouldn't have that, you know, hold on me and all. It's just so sweet watching her process all of this stuff and trying to figure it out.
And I like that Buffy acknowledges that for her, like, no, keeping a secret doesn't make it. It doesn't make it fun and sexy. Keeping a secret makes it stressful. And I feel like here with Willow and Buffy, we have a very sort of, you know, to oversimplify, we have kind of a childish view on secrets and a more adult view on secrets.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, when you're young and in love and messing around, like, secrets are kind of fun and sexy because you have this private thing that no one knows about. But when you're an adult, a secret is something that, okay, you have to uphold and remember who knows what and, you know, make sure you've got all your bases covered. And it's not fun. Buffy's not. And I like that insight into Buffy, that Buffy's not having a good time keeping Angel's secret. It's not that she has this, like, fun, sexy vampire boyfriend rendezvous that she goes to.
Right.
She feels extremely conflicted about this. And I love that. I love that acknowledgement of secrets can be fun, but they can also be kind of soul crushing depending on, you know, what you're keeping a secret.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Willow, oh my God. Willow with no cool whatsoever is just probably my favorite Willow. Like, trying so hard. And when she's trying to talk herself into talking to Buffy, you know, this will make me feel better, right? Like, this is good. Willow is so dear. I just love her. I just love her.
I know.
And
I know. She's the best.
Yep. No Xander is worth it, Willow.
I know. All right, so Noelle, let me talk to you a little bit. What are you wearing?
Oh my gosh. So, well, what am I wearing? So speaking of Willow's costuming just continues to be so wonderful and excellent. I love the way they take Allison Hannigan, who is obviously like a very beautiful, very sexy young woman, and they have to kind of they kind of dork her up a little bit, just a little bit, with like her super high neck t-shirts, and they're they make her look kind of more on the childish end of things. Like, she wears a lot of little kid jewelry, which I think is a really interesting choice. But I just love her, like her pink shirt at the bronze, and then through most of this episode, she wears this purple sweater that has like falling leaves on it, and it's just just really, like, it's really nice. It feels like I don't know, it works for me as a Willow a Willow sweater. But I absolutely love Buffy's hair in this episode. When she's doing Tai Chi with Angel, she's got this kind of Cinderella updo with this little black headband. And I get full on Disney princess from that hair. And I think that that's 100% intentional. But I love the like fancy updo to go see Angel. It really works for me.
She knows she looks good.
Oh, she knows she looks good. Yep. And that red coat. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Buffy's red coat. Buffy has an excellent collection of coats. There's a yellow coat later on that I love.
Her coats are the best.
Buffy coats are where it's at. And of course, once again, we've got Faith being a really nice visual counterpoint to Buffy. So when Buffy is wearing her red coat, Faith is wearing tan. And they, again, we get this nice, color contrast between the two of them. And they just look fantastic and framed together always. But my favorite bit of costuming in this episode is actually Gwendolyn Post. She's got this really wonderful 1940s femme fatale aesthetic that I think fits in really naturally with her kind of, stuffy British authoritarian, swoops in and, cracks down on everyone with the rules kind of persona. But it's also a great way of really subtly foreshadowing her as a villain. I mean, she wears, I would say that most of what she wears could be worn by, say, Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity.
Right.
She looks,
absolutely.
like she looks very femme fatale, and she's got that great, like, 40s style hair that just tops it off so beautifully. I absolutely love, I hate Gwendolyn Post. I love how she looks. Like, everything about her look is so spot on for me. And I think really, it feels very real for her character, but it also feels really great as a, telegraphing this like villainous turn that she's going to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really, really good. All right. So for me, ARG the patriarchy this week is just the fucking Watchers Council. Like,
it really is. I mean,
it
really is the patriarchy. I mean, that's kind of all it is. And I mean, we'll have a lot to say about the Watchers Council, I think, as we move through the series.
We're going to have more and more and more to say about the Watchers Council as we move through this season and future seasons. They're going to pop up a few times and always need to be, hit like a whack-a-mole every time. But
excuse me.
Oh,
so tired of that cough, man.
I know. It'll go away.
It will.
It just takes fucking forever.
Woohoo.
All right. So, Noelle, do you have a girl power moment of the week?
I do. I talked a little bit about Buffy, being an adult, and Buffy, grappling with all of this mental, emotional, heart, all of these things that she has to go through. During the scene where everyone is confronting her.
Yeah.
She has this moment, Xander's being really very cruel and confrontational with her.
Yeah.
And she has this moment where she starts to raise her voice at him. And then she pauses and she says, "We're not together like that." Like, she's able to bring herself back to calm, even though she's in this really heightened state of feeling really attacked. And I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, like that is super, super impressive and shows a kind of strength of character that really is really representative, I think, of who Buffy is. She's able to hold multiple things in her mind at once. And, you know, you can see her wanting to lash out at Xander and yell at him, but she pulls it back and she calmly explains the situation. And I love it so much.
Right. I mean, she is truly an adult. She has been forced into adulthood way too soon. But as we saw last week in Band Candy, like, she is the one who can hold it all together, who can, you know, keep her cool when, you know, she would have every reason to be like freaking out. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's unfair. It's almost sad that she has to be such an adult, but she does it so well. And it really is a powerful moment for her to be able, you know, to keep your head when those around you are losing theirs, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really nice. What's your favorite part?
My favorite part is Faith, the would-be angel slayer. I know it's, you know, it's misguided, obviously, but she is all business, and I love it so much when she and Xander are going through the weapons, and she's just like, she's grabbing what she needs, and she's ready to go. I love Faith to the rescue, Faith on the job. So great. Makes me so happy.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Faith is also my favorite part in this episode, but it's more like the brilliant way that they set her up, you know, this bid for connection. Buffy kind of slaps it back. She's already hurt. Then Gwendolyn Post comes in and just fucks all of her shit up, you know? And it's so sad and heartbreaking, you know, to watch her go from a place of trust and inclusion to exclusion and suspicion and wanting to reach out, wanting to reach back to Buffy, but then not being able to do it. You know, she just doesn't have that strength. She's so great. She's such a fun and complicated character. And I love it. I love everything about her in this episode.
I do too. But I mean, if Faith is in an episode, my favorite part is going to be Faith. So
it usually is. It usually is. She's kind of like Wesley for me over on the Angel show, over on Still Dead. It's like almost always going to be Wesley.
Yep. All right, that's it for today. To join in the discussion on Twitter, follow Lani at Lani Diane Rich and me at Noelle Aloud, and use the hashtag StillPretty.
Or you can keep Chipperish Media going to the tune of $1 a month or more and gain access to the live chat in Discord, where you can hang out with me and Noelle and all the Chipperish patrons who are not the watchers of us.
You can also show your support by giving Still Pretty a great review on Apple Podcasts, or by telling your friends about the show, or by using I statements only. I feel angry. I feel worried. And of course, I love Still Pretty.
A big thank you goes out to Rob Hyrett for voicing the Watchers Council for us. Yes, we will be making him do that again. We'll be back next time with Lover's Walk, the 8th episode of Season 3, and the return of Spike. Yay! Until then, really, we're just good friends.